Shanah tovah tikatevu, Shanah tovah tikatevu, tikatevu, vetichatemu. Shanah tovah tikatevu, Shanah tovah tikatevu, tikatevu, vetichatemu.
Shana Tova. Welcome back to those who were here last night in person or joining us over the live stream. So again, still happy to be celebrating the new year with you, and still Rabbi Ahuva Zaks, still Cantor Uri Barnea. I'd like to invite up our president, Lori Weinberg, to share a few words. I make her do a speech every time I have to do a sermon.
While I'm sorry that we have to start on this note, we must be mindful of our surroundings to remain as safe as possible. Please take a look around you for the closest exit, to your left, to your right, in front of you, and behind you. And as they say every time they make safety announcements on an airplane, note that the closest exit may be behind you. Spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. The year before we shut down due to COVID, I stood here before you comparing Orme to a deck of cards. Here we are 3 years later. Due to the lingering effects of COVID, we are not playing with a full deck yet, but I think we have played our cards right at Orme these past few difficult years, and we have emerged all the stronger because of it. So I have taken the liberty to return to my deck of cards as I stand before you today. I'm going to call out the spades first and ask that all of the Orme spades stand to be recognized. Spades are those who dig in and get things done. I'll get you started. Where are Jeff Haken and Isabel Paul? This year they took on the leadership of Avodah, and as they will tell you, this is a big undertaking. Renee Gould is probably out in the hall hustling about, who has led the way for organizing these high holiday services, continued to do so this year and help Jeff and Isabel get a better sense of what goes into making these services run smoothly. Thank you three for all you have done. Could I also ask those who helped in other ways to please stand? This includes the schleppers, the honey and apple cake bakers, the ushers and greeters, and those of you who just jumped in wherever needed. Come on. This is what Orme is all about. No one works harder than Bruce Gould and his facilities team. They oversee all of the building improvements and repairs, which includes cleaning out classrooms in preparation for the school year and overseeing security concerns under Jeff Haken's direction. Marcy Horowitz deserves a shout out for her grant writing skills, which have brought in significant grant funding to make security improvements. Where'd she go? In addition to security improvements, Orme, Light of My People, seeks to be the light of all of my people. Our old bathrooms have been renovated, and we now have a gender-neutral bathroom and a family/handicap accessible restroom at Orme. The renovation was partially funded by a generous bequest and by grant funding from the Jewish Community Federation of Richmond. Another hardworking spade is board member Beth Tacey, who is now responsible for the Orme Cemetery, a large and important job. I haven't seen Beth here today. Kate Barnett has taken over the helm of our fundraising committee, and as any of you who have ever worked on fundraising, it's a lot of work. If you're interested in joining her team or helping out with one of the events, please seek her out or pick up a contact card in the lobby. The first event, Risk It for the Brisket, a brisket cook-off, is scheduled for November 6th after religious school. Be on the lookout for more information. We do work hard at Orme, but it's not all about working hard, as the rabbi talked about last night. In addition to our hardworking spades, we have our clubs. Do you like to read and engage in lively discussions? Then you might want to attend the Orme Book Club, which is under Terry Halperin's leadership. Speaking of reading, I encourage you to check out the Orme Library as well. Isabel Paul has been in charge of sorting through many, many boxes of donated books and cataloging those that will help complete our collection. Maybe movies are more to your liking. Russ Jennings has restarted Real Theology. This group meets once a month to watch a Jewish-themed film, share food, and discuss the movie. Allie Moorhead has started a monthly crafters group. All are welcome. I can't leave the clubs without mentioning our well-attended and popular Beer Me under Alex Woolman's direction. We are always open to new ideas for social groups. Please see me if you would like to get something started. Of course, spades and clubs don't work well without hearts. And we do have big hearts at Orme. Social action and justice are at the heart of Orme. Orme is sponsoring one of the Afghan refugee families. Other endeavors include our involvement in RISK, Richmonders Involved to Strengthen Our Communities, a multi-faith undertaking. This year's focus is on affordable housing and eviction diversion. They're also working with city leaders to adopt a new approach to deal with gun violence and continuing their work on a climate initiative as well. Please consider joining an in-person outdoor socially distanced Orme Risk House meeting Sunday, October 2nd at 4 o'clock. Laura Horowitz coordinates our work with the Home Again Men's Shelter, which prepares monthly meals for men in the shelter. And a big thanks to those of you who brought non-perishable items to Orme that will be delivered to Feed More. The collection boxes will be out in the lobby throughout the holidays, so it's not too late to bring items in. On October 16th, we will be joining hands with the Islamic Center for an Interfaith Mitzvah Day. See Marilyn Breslow or pick up the social action information sheet in the lobby if you're interested in learning how to become more involved in our social action justice endeavors. Our Hanani, or Caring Committee, under Laura Horowitz's leadership, is working on new ways to reach out to those in need of support. In the lobby, there is information about ways you can participate in their efforts. You don't have to be a member of the committee to help out. We are all part of a supportive community. Our cantor, Uri Barnea, who has come to us from Montana for the past 6 years, has decided that this will be his last year as he moves into full retirement. Can we all show him our appreciation? I think they like you. And let's also thank our devoted pianist, Patricia Schrock, who to my knowledge is not planning to retire. They have made a great team. Perhaps the biggest heart of all, although it is not a competition, is Rabbi Ahuva. As much as anyone, she is responsible for the welcoming spirit of our Orme community. We were blessed this past year with several generous bequests, one from former Rabbi Israel and wife Peggy Kohler, and another from member Jeff Galston. Our members' financial commitment to Orme also extends into the future through our Life and Legacy program for afterlife giving. I remain grateful to all those who have invested in our Jewish community for generations to come. I'd also like to ask our Life and Legacy leaders to please stand. Chair John Weinberg, Stan Foyer, Russ Jennings, and Beth Meixner. As we start a new and another unusual year, I would like to thank everyone who has given time and money to make Orme the place that it is. I ask for your continued financial support. Over the years, Ormeans have opened their wallets to support numerous projects, as I mentioned last night. We now own our building, and we have new carpeting and fresh paint thanks to the generosity of our members. We still look forward to the time when we can all feel comfortable safely gathering in person. But whether you are here today in person or virtually, remember the feeling you have in your heart as we recite prayers and sing together as a spiritual community. Remember why you have chosen to be a part of the Orme community as a member or by worshiping with us today. We keep our doors open to the entire community for the High Holy Days, and while we find ways to do things as economically as possible, there are costs involved in making these services at the JCC possible. If you are able, we hope that you will continue to make a commitment to the Jewish people and to our Orme community by making a donation to our High Holy Day Fund. To conclude, if you deal out all the spades, clubs, and hearts, we're left with the diamonds. We are all shiny diamonds, whether it's through our commitment of time, energy, dollars, or acts of loving kindness. I thank each and every one of you for helping to make Orme shine as a Kehila Kedusha. There is a place for everyone to shine and be dealt in at Orme. Join us this afternoon for the children's service at Orme at 4 o'clock, followed by Tashlik. The Kol Nidre service will begin here at the JCC at 7:30 p.m. next Tuesday, followed by our Yom Kippur service on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. A family service will be held that day at 4 o'clock, as will Jewish meditation, led by our very own Lisa Halberstadt, both here at the JCC. Afternoon Yitzker will start at 5 o'clock, followed by a light community break the fast. You have now heard me compare Ormeans to a flock of birds and a deck of cards. What does this bird brain joker of a president have in store for you next? You'll have to return to Yom Kippur to find out. In the meantime, and I also have to add, we are celebrating our 50th year as a congregation. Grab a slice of apple or honey cake from the table in the lobby, which were prepared by our devoted volunteers, and join us under the tent after the services to just have some fun. L'Shana Tova.
Thank you, Lori. We now begin our service together on page 2 with Ma Tovu.
Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך אשתחווה אל היכל קודשך תפילתי לך, אדוני את רצון, אלוהים
Page 3. Beginning the new year together. We have come together to welcome the new year, to celebrate its promise, to ponder its responsibilities. Let us preserve the joyous and worthy memories, and let us carry forward our noblest hopes to enrich and uplift the year which now begins. Here today, gathered together, we celebrate creation and life. In community, we seek those values that will be reborn. We open ourselves to this year's turning. Continue with the responsive reading at the bottom of the page. On Rosh Hashanah, we take a step back. We pause to think and remember. We use this time to feel and renew, but not to create all anew from nothing. We remember the history and traditions of our people. For us, renewal does not come easily. It takes an act of will. It means breaking old habits and admitting that we have been wrong. It means losing face and starting all over again, recognizing that we do have the ability to change. Loving God, help us to renew ourselves. Help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to higher purpose, from envy to gratitude, and from fear to faith. Waking up. I have awakened again, and I give thanks. Before me, the blessing of this day, a feast of choices and possibilities. And the breath within me says, great is your faithfulness. You offer me another chance. You offer me life. This day I am created to create this day. The ancient blessings for daily miracles follow the order of our waking up, climbing out of bed, getting dressed and ready, and achieving our potential each day. These blessings serve as a spiritual reminder that each morning and each new year, it is once again up to us to choose gratitude and a renewed commitment to our highest ideals. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has enabled us to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who feeds the hungry. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made us all in your image. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made us to be free. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made us Israel.
Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Kol הנשמה להלליה. הללו, הללויה. כל הנשמה להלליה. הללו, הללויה. הללו, הללו, הללו. הללו, הללו, הללו. הללו, הללו, הללו. הללו, הללו, הללו.
For more than 2,000 years, the words of the Baruch Hu have been used to call Jews to prayer. Even now, we hear the echoes of that first call, growing stronger with each passing generation, with each new voice rising in prayer. Please rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uborei choshen. Oseh shalom, shalom, uborei hakol. Yotzer or uborei choshen. Oseh shalom, shalom, uborei hakol. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevon Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. I'd like to invite up Beth Jones and Sarah Foote to lead us in our English readings on pages 8 and 9.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. We seek to understand what it means to love God. Our world is so full of disorder and hate. How do we quiet our distress so we can listen to the still, small voice that lies within us?
Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day, and press them upon your children.
We want to raise our children to be good and loving human beings. How do we show them the way, if not by our own actions and the way we live our own lives? Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. We are instructed to live the life of Torah. How are we to understand what this means? How can we seek to find the truth of Torah?
Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
We are called to bring the light of Torah, our understanding of what is good and right and wise, into our homes. We are beckoned to lead our children through the world of what is to the world of what should be. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. We are led beyond understanding to action, past seeking to doing, and through this journey we move from profane to the sacred.
Sing a song of liberation and thanks, the song of God's miracles. We were given this precious gift of life and freedom, brought out of Egypt to protect and care for the world. May we nourish and cherish it, and pass it on to our children, to their children, and to all generations to come. And may the world we give them be a world that is whole, unbroken, free, and at peace.
God gives free will to every human being. If we wish to choose goodness and righteousness, we are free to do so. If we wish to choose evil, we are also free to do that. Nothing holds us back from making this choice. God puts the power in our hands to choose.
Continue on page 10 with Micha Mocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדהר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. Adonai yemlok. ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדי חילנו ממך, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
The Amida, along with the Shema, comprises the core of a Jewish morning prayer service. We begin the Amida first by seeking help and inspiration with a line from Psalms. Then we continue with the Avot ve'imahot, which summons the memory of those who went before us, linking our own standing before God to the spiritual lives of our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents in a long line stretching back to Abraham and Sarah. Once this connection has been established, we recognize the divine power which we hope to emulate through acts of love and kindness, such as supporting the fallen, healing the sick, freeing the captive, and giving hope to those in despair. The Amidah includes a number of special insertions for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur during this holiday season, and concludes, as usual, with a prayer for peace. Please rise for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach uvi tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, u'mevii geula lifnei bneihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava.
זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, בכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומדיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו להישנה עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי חיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי
The Untitled Chapter is a piyut, or liturgical poem, composed in medieval times, which explores the metaphor of the book of life and wrestles with our most profound questions about our future, purpose, and mortality. This prayer is traditionally attributed to Rabbi Amnon of Mainz at the time of his martyrdom. However, historical findings suggest that this prayer predates the era in which Rabbi Amnon lived, leaving the origin of this prayer as mysterious as our own unknown futures.
ונתנה תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום. בראש השנה יכתבו, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יכתבו. בראש השנה יכתבו, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יכתבו. תשובה ותפילה וצדקה מעבירים את רוע הגזרה. But repentance, prayer, and righteousness temper judgment severe decree.
Untitled Chapter. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed, that this year people will live and die, some more gently than others, and nothing lives forever. But amidst overwhelming forces of nature and humankind, we still write our own book of life, and our actions are the words in it. And the stages of our lives are the chapters, and nothing goes unrecorded ever. Every deed counts. Everything you do matters. And we never know what act or word will leave an impression or tip the scale. So if not now, when? For the things that we can change, there is teshuvah, realignment. For the things we cannot change, there is tefillah, prayer. For the help we can give, there is tzedakah, justice. Together, let us write a beautiful book of life for the Holy One to read.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרז אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
As a sign of God's mercy, you may finally be seated. We continue with a moment for silent prayer or personal reflection.
שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, ועל כל העמים. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, ועל כל העמים. ברכנו אבינו, כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל ואת כל העמים בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, ועל כל העמים. בספר החיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, נזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who are in need of healing. This morning, we think especially of Marty Cohen, Alyssa Freeman, Beth Levine, Rabbi Jerry Levy, and Natalie Rayner. Are there other loved ones whose healing we wish to pray for this morning? With the power of community, we pray for their refuah shlema, their complete healing of body and or spirit, with the words of Mishaberach found in the middle of page 18.
Mishaberach avotenu, מקור הברכה bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mekor habracha. Those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nosei Avon v'Fesha, v'chata v'nakeh.
Perhaps more than any other prayer, Avinu Malkeinu, our parent, our ruler, invokes the image of a long-bearded king sitting in judgment upon his throne. How many are the ways that this image can trouble us? Some Jews are struggling to recover from the harsh judgments of parents or peers, or from harsh self-judgments. Some are struggling to escape the transcendent imagery of God and replace it with the divine within. Some have trouble with the maleness of the image. Despite these very real difficulties, there is a power in the recitation of this prayer, which traces back to Rabbi Ahuva from the early 2nd century. The Talmud notes that when Ahuva offered the prayer Avinu Malkeinu for the first time, his prayer was immediately answered. Today, the power of this prayer lies in its poignant melody, as well as its ancient words' ability to reflect our most profound yearnings still. Our parent, Avinu, evokes a mood of closeness, caring, and intimacy. Our ruler, Malkeinu, elicits the qualities of power, distance, and setting limits. We pour out our hearts in the hope that tender concerns will balance with the exercise of power, that they will join on our behalf to heal us, our community, and our world. Please rise for Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu, Yen Banu Masim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu, Ki en banu masim.
Let's do the English of Avinu Malkeinu responsively. Avinu Malkeinu, listen to our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our future descendants. Avinu Malkeinu, make an end to all oppression. Avinu Malkeinu, let the new year be a good year for us.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai Yerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadola ve'agemora ve'atiferet ve'hanetzach ve'ahod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'bahar, ki chol בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, תמיד נעשה לכל. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד, יכול בשמיים ובארץ, יכול בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני המלכה, תמיד נעשה לכל ערב. וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. לה 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 גוי אל גוי, הערב לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי, הערב לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי, הערב ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי, הערב ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה.
Please be seated. We are on page 25 of our prayer book if you'd like to follow along with the English or Hebrew. For our first Aliyah this morning, I'd like to invite up our Torah reader, John Weinberg, head of our personnel committee, and his lovely wife, president of our synagogue, Lori Weinberg, to do the Aliyah Blessing. Ta'amod liora bat Avraham v'Sara levarech et haTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'ele, v'ha'elohim nisa et Avraham, vayomer elav Avraham, vayomer hineni, vayomer Kachna et bincha et yehidcha asher hafta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha al eretz hamoriah v'ha'alehu sham leolah al achad hecharim ashar omar elecha v'yashkem Avraham baboker v'yachavash et hamoro v'yachach et shnei nitzarav Ito v'et Yitzhak beno, v'yavaka atse ola, v'yikam v'yelech al hamakom, asher omar lo ha'elohim. V'yom hashlishi, v'yisa Avraham et einav v'yar et hamakom merachoch.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For our second Aliyah this morning, we invite up Nancy Nelson, head of our Odie youth group, and her friend Terry Halpern to do the Aliyah Blessing. Ta'amod tovah dvorah bat Yisrael David v'mindo levarech et haTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarak. Baruch Adonai hambarak le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol hamin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayomer Avraham al Na'arav, and Abraham said to his servants, Shavu lachem po im hachamor, stay here with the donkey, va'ani v'hana'ar nelcha ad ko, and I and the boy will go there, v'nishtachaveh v'nashuva aleichem, and we will worship there and return to you. Vayikach Avraham et atzei ha'olah, and Abraham took the fire for the offering, vayasem al Yitzchak beno, and he placed it on his son Isaac. Vayikach biado et ha'esh ve'et ha'ma'achelet, and he took in his hand the fire and the wood. Vayelchu shnechem yachdav, and they walked off together. Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, and Isaac said to Abraham his father, Vayomer avi, and he said, my father. Vayomer hineni b'ni, and he said, here I am, my son. Vayomer, and he said, hine ha'esh v'ha'etzim va'ayeh haseh la'olah. I see the fire and the wood for the offering, but where is the lamb? Vayomer, and he said, Vayomer Avraham, and Abraham said, Elohim yireh lo haseh la'olah b'ni. God will provide the lamb for the offering, my son. Vayelchu shnehem yachdav, and they walked off together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
For our third Aliyah this morning, I'd like to invite up Bob Ledman and Stan Foyer to do the Aliyah Blessing. Ya'amod Shalom Yisrael ben Yonah Halevi Livarech et HaTorah.
Baruch Adonai hambarak.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai hambarak le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'nasan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayavo'u el hamakom asher amar loha Elohim vayavim sham Abraham et ha-mitzbeach vaya aroch et ha'etzim vaya akod et Yitzchak beno vayasim oto al ha-mitzbeach mima al va'etzim Vayishlach Avraham et yado, Vayikach et ha'ma'achelet lishchot et beno.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher nasan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
For our fourth Aliyah this morning, we call up our most recent Bet Mitzvah, awesome Torah reader, Jonah Kayazo Hafetz, and their mother, Sarah. Ta'amot Sarah bat Aharon ve'ora levarech et haTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMavarach. Baruch Adonai HaMavarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Amen.
Vayikra elav malach Adonai min hashamayim. Vayomer, Avraham, Avraham. Vayomer, Hineni. Vayomer, Al tishlach yadecha el hana'ar. Va'al ta'as lo me'uma. Ki ata yadati. Ki yirei Elohim ata. Velo hasachta et bincha. Et yehidha mimeni. Vayisa Avraham et enav, vayar, vahine ayel ahar, ne'ehaz bazvach v'karnav. Vayelech Avraham, vayakach et ha'ayel, vayalehu le'olah tachat beno. Vayikra Avraham, Shem hamakom hahu, Adonai Yireh, Asher Ye'amer Hayom, Bahar Adonai Yireh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Amen.
Made it look easy. For our fifth and final Aliyah this morning, we invite up our Torah reader, Jenny Levine, and her father, David Levine. Ya'amad David ben Abba Zalman v'mitaracho levarech et haTorah.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach. Baruch Adonai HaMavarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Vayikra malach Adonai el Avraham shenit min hashamayim. Vayomer bi nishbati ne'om Adonai ki ya'an asher asita et hadavar hazeh velo hasachta et bincha et yechadecha ki varech avarechecha v'harba arbe et zaracha kehichuve hashamayim v'chacho asher al sfat hayam v'yaresh zaracha et she'ar oivav v'hitbarechu v'tzara'a kol goyei haaretz ekev asher shamata b'koli v'yashav Avraham el ne'arav v'yakamu v'yilchu Yachdav el Be'er Sheva, V'yeshev Avraham be'Be'er Sheva.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Now I'd like to invite up our Torah lifter and dresser, Darren and Allie Moorhead. Please rise as our scroll is lifted.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
Please be seated. I'd like to invite up our Haftorah reader and blesser, Dr. Roger Loria, and his daughter Rachel Loria, on page 27.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar ben ve'im tovim rata b'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habaher b'torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nevi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Shana Tova v'moadim l'simcha, holidays for joy. The Haftarah today, I will try to bridge some. First of all, the talit I wear is a bar mitzvah talit, which I wore in my bar mitzvah in the large temple, the high temple synagogue in Netanya, Israel. Bar mitzvah boy, you can come and look. My accent is primarily Israeli, and my wife tells everybody I'm from Alabama. It doesn't work too much. So if you have difficulties, look in the English translation for the names. The Haftarah that is read today bridges a significant time period in the histories of the people of Israel. It connects between the era of the Shoftim, the judges, and the evolution of the monarchy of Judea and the 10 tribes of Israel. During the era of the judges, Israel was involved in many wars with its neighbors. Consequently, there was a popular demand for establishing a monarchy. People wanted a leader, a warrior leader in front of them. Indeed, the last verse of the book of Judges, Shoftim, says, "In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which he was right in his own eyes." The Haftarah tells us of the birth and consecration of one of the major prophets, Shmuel. Samuel, again, against his own better judgment, anoint the kings of Israel, the first king of Israel, Saul, what you call, or Shaul in Hebrew, and later the second king David, and according to the people's wishes and against his own better judgment. This established the divine link between God and the monarchy, which has then been copied by all countries later on. King David was succeeded by King Solomon, but after him the country split into two kingdoms: the kingdom of Israel, including the city of Shechem and Samaria in the north, and the kingdom of Judea, containing Jerusalem in the south. The 10 tribes of the kingdom of Israel were conquered by the Neo-Assyrian Empire and exiled, never to be found and lost forever. We all are the descendant of Judea, of that kingdom, not of the tribes, the 10 tribes of Israel. We will be reading the first chapter in the book of Samuel. The place Shiloh, what you call Shiloh, is 28 miles north of Jerusalem and was considered the holy place prior to the building of the temple in Jerusalem. Both the tabernacle and the ark were located there. Eli was the high Kohen, and it's relevant to point out that all the interaction are with Eli and not with his two sons who do not follow the commandment. The Hebrew text is quite explicit in showing the link between Samuel and the future first king, as it states in the last verse of Shanah, says, he was asked from God, translated Shaul la'Adonai. The name of the future king was Shaul. Finally, the text is about 2,500 years old, but the narrative is alive and speaks to us even today. We feel the sadness and the pain of Shanah across the time, and it makes me always very emotional when I read it. ויהי איש אחד מן הרמתיים צופים, מהר אפרים, שמו אלקנה בן ירוחם, בן אליה, בן תוכו, בן צוף אפרתי, ולא שתי נשים, שם אחת חנה ושם השנית פנינה. ויהי לפנינה ילדים, ולחנה אין ילדים. ועלה האיש ההוא מעירו ימים ימימה, להשתחוות ולזבוח לאדוני צבאות בשילה. ושם שני בני אלי, חופני ופנחס, כהנים לאדוני. ויהי היום ויזבח אלקנה, ונתן לפנינה אשתו ולכל בניה מנות. ולחנה ייתן מנה אחת אפיים, כי את חנה אהב, ואדוני סגר רחמה. וכעסתה צרתה, קם כעס, בעבור הרעימה, כי סגר אדוני את רחמה. וכן יעשה שנה בשנה, מדי עלותה בבית אדוני, כן תכעסנה, ותבכה ולא תאכל. ויאמר לה אלקנה אישה, חנה, למה תבכי, ולמה לא תאכלי, ולמה ירא לבבך, הלא אנוכי טוב לך מ10 בנים. ותקם חנה אחרי אכלה בשילה, ואחרי שתה, ואלי הכהן יושב על הכיסא, על מזוזת היכל אדוני. והיא מרת נפש, ותתפלל על אדוני, ובכה תבכה. ותדור נדר, ותאמר, אדוני צבאות, אם רעו תראה בעני אמתך, וזכרתני, ולא תשכח את אמתך, ונתת לאמתך זרע אנשים, ונתתיו לאדוני כל ימי חייו, ומורא לא ירא על ראשו. והיה כי הרבתה להתפלל לפני אדוני, ואלי שומר את פיה, וחנה היא מדברת על ליבה, רק שפתיה נאות, וקולה לא יישמע. ויחשבה אלי לשיכורה, ויאמר אליה, עד מתי תשתכרין, הסירי את עינך מעלייך. ותען חנה ותאמר, לא אדוני, אישת קשת רוח אנוכי, ויין ושכר לא שתיתי, ואשפך את נפשי לפני אדוני. אל תיתן את עמדך לבת בליעל, כי מרוב שיחי וכעסי דיברת עד הנה. ויען אלי ויאמר, לכי לשלום, ואלוהים ישראל ייתן את שאלתך אשר שאלת מאמו. ותאמר, תמצא שפחתך חן בעיניך, ותלך האישה לדרכה, ופניה לא היו לה עוד. וישכמו בבוקר, וישתחוו לפני אדוני, וישובו אל ביתם הרמתה. וידע אלקנה את חנה אשתו, ויזכריה. ויהי לתקופת הימים, ותיאר חנה ותלד בן, ותקרא את שמו שמואל, כי מאדוני שאלתיו. ויעל האיש אלקנה כל ביתו, לזבוח לאדוני את זבח הימים ואת נדרו. וחנה לא עלתה, כי אמרה לאישה, עד יגמל הנער, והביאתי אותו, ונראה את פני אדוני, וישב שם עד עולם. ויאמר לה אלקנה אישה, עשי הטוב בעינייך, שבי עד גמלך אותו, אך יקם אדוני את דברו, ותשב האישה, ותנק את בנה עד גמלה אותו. ותעלוהו עמה כאשר גמלתו, בפרים 3, ואיפה 1, וקמח ונבל יין. ותאבהו לבית אדוני שילה, והנער נער, וישחטו את הפר, והביאו את הנער אל עלי. ותאמר, בי אדוני חי נפשכי אדוני, אני האישה הניצבת עמך בזה להתפלל אל אדוני. אל הנער הזה התפללתי, וייתן אדוני לי את שאלתי, אשר שאלתי מאמו, וגם אנוכי שתלתו לאדוני כל הימים אשר היה, הוא שאול לאדוני, וישתחוו שם לאדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol olamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'miraber u'makayem, shechol dvarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'neve'im, ve'al yom hazikaron hazeh, Shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, lekavod ol tifaret. Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umevarchim hutach, yitbarach shimcha, befi kol chai, tamid leolam ba'ed, ubarcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, melech al kol ha'aretz, mekadesh Yisrael, Bayom hazikaron.
Please rise as our Torah is returned to the ark.
Etz chayim lama chazikim ba betomcheha meushar deracheha darchen noam bechol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashoma Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated. And I invite you to spend a quiet moment reading the introduction to the Shofar service if you'd like to know a little bit more about the history and purpose of reading the of hearing the Shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Do we have Russ here? Ready to go with our shofar? So we continue on page 34.
The time has come to sound the shofar. As the Torah tells us, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly, a cessation from work, a day of commemorations proclaimed by the sound of the shofar. Of the 3 themes of Rosh Hashanah, Malchut can be the most difficult for us to relate to today. No longer ruled by kings, we may struggle to understand the imagery of God as a king with a grand coronation ceremony announced by the shofar. However, we can still relate to the concept of power. As we listen to the first round of shofar blast, let us ponder these questions. What do I have control over in my life? What things can I change for the better? What do I not have control over? How can I accept the things that are beyond my control?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן.
תקיעה, שברים תרועה, תקיעה, תקיעה, שברים, תקיעה, תקיעה, תרועה, תקיעה.
God, remember us, not only our mistakes, but our good intentions and our tender hearts. Remember our ancestors who for thousands of years have asked for forgiveness with the wail of the ram's horn. Today again, we open ourselves to the calls of the shofar, reminding us, sleepers, awake. We remember what matters most in our lives. Help us shed old memories which no longer serve us. Help us instead to always remember you.
Tkiya. Shvarim Trua. Tkiya. Tkiya. Shvarim. Tkiya. Tkiya. Teruah. Tkiya.
Hear the sound of the shofar, you who are caught up in the daily routine, losing sight of eternal truth, you who waste your years in vain pursuits that neither profit nor save.
In what ways do my heart, mind, and soul need to be awakened by the shofar? What truly matters to me? What makes me feel that my life is significant? Am I too often wasting my most precious possession, the minutes, hours, the days of my life? You, O God, are everything that we praise you for. Slow to anger, quick to forgive. I've been slow to anger, quick to forgive. What would my loved ones say? Does anger interfere with my relationships? Am I impatient at home? Am I intolerant with colleagues and friends?
Avinu Malkeinu, may we taste anew the sweetness of each day. Renew us for a year of goodness.
Where do I find moments of sweetness and beauty? As a new year begins, where will I devote my best energies? How can I bring more goodness to the lives of others? The shofar reminds us of the ram in the thicket. Where are we too ensnared? Can our song set us free?
The sound of the shofar shatters our complacency. It wails with our grief and stutters with our inadequacy.
The shofar calls us to Shovah. The shofar cries out, I was whole, I was broken, I will be whole again.
Make shofars of us, God. Breathe through us. Make of us resonating chambers for your love.
Last time. Tkiya. Shvarim Trua. Tkiya. Tkiya. Shvarim. Tkiya. Tkiya. Teruah. Tkiya Gdolah. It's really hard to go after that. But I'll tell you a story. So 2 centuries ago, there was a family called the Gellers with 3 daughters living in an Eastern European shtetl. The Geller family had a simple home, which, like most homes in their shtetl, was illuminated by kerosene. One night, after tucking her daughters into bed, Mrs. Geller went to make a cup of tea. As she entered the kitchen, she saw a snake slithering across the table. Mrs. Geller screamed in surprise and grabbed a nearby broom to shoo it away. As she moved the broom, Somehow the end of the broom knocked over a kerosene lamp, which quickly set their tablecloth ablaze. Hearing the commotion, Mr. Geller ran over to see what had happened. The fire had overtaken the kitchen and was now spreading to the front room and blocking the path to their only door. "Girls!" shouted Mr. Geller. "Girls, get up! The house is on fire! You must climb out the window at once!" Their oldest daughter, Sarah, shook her younger sister Miriam awake. She quickly gave Miriam a boost so that she could climb out of the window. Next, Sarah picked up her 2-year-old sister, Ruthie, and handed her to Miriam through the window. Then she scrambled and squeezed herself through the window just in time. The next morning, the whole shtetl had heard the news that Sarah had managed to save her sisters, but their parents did not make it out in time. The Gellers were such a fantastic family. Everyone in the shtetl felt moved to step in and help however they could. Families offered to host the girls, providing them food and beds until they could be placed together at the same orphanage. Tailors and seamstresses sewed the girls each a few outfits to replace the clothing they had lost in the fire. Other children in the shtetl offered to share their toys. Everyone seemed to know instinctively how to step up as a community and do what needed to be done. Years later, when the oldest daughter Sarah was grown, she asked to make an appointment with the shtetl's rabbi. During their meeting, Sarah explained that she now wished to be married, but was not sure how to find a match without parents to help her. The rabbi talked to a matchmaker who found her a sweet young man named Jacob. Sarah and Jacob felt an immediate connection as they were both orphans and longed to have a normal family experience after being raised in orphanages. A date was set for the wedding. For weeks leading up to the event, the rabbi would emphasize in his sermons the importance of weddings and the mitzvah of taking care of orphans. Everyone in the synagogue agreed that it was a great mitzvah to provide for the wedding of orphans. As they did in the wake of the fire so many years ago, the whole community stepped up again and worked together to create a beautiful celebration. The butcher donated meat for the wedding feast. The baker donated beautiful loaves of challah. The rabbi asked Jacob and Sarah what their favorite desserts were, and then prepared these delicacies for them together with his wife. Everyone wanted to help in some way, so the rabbi set out 2 big empty wine barrels in front of the synagogue and asked each family in the shtetl to please pour 1 bottle of red wine into the barrel. In no time at all, the 2 barrels were overflowing with fine wine. At the wedding feast, the rabbi turned the spigot on the wine barrel and began filling glasses. First, he handed a tall glass of wine to the groom, who passed it straight to his bride. Then the rabbi continued pouring wine for the groom and all of the wedding guests. Everyone in the shtetl agreed that it was the most beautiful wedding they had ever attended. A few years later, the second daughter Miriam was ready to marry. A suitable match was found, and the rabbi spoke again to the community about the importance of weddings and of providing for orphans. It was hard to pinpoint exactly why, but the community's enthusiasm wasn't quite as high the second time around. The butcher and baker still donated, but the qualities of meat and bread seemed a little bit less than for Sarah and Jacob's wedding banquet. The rabbi and his wife still made desserts and set out 2 empty wine barrels in front of the synagogue. This time, each family in the shtetl brought 1 glass of wine rather than a full bottle to contribute to the communal barrels. At the wedding feast, the rabbi turned the wine spigot once again. There was enough for the bride and groom to each have a tall glass, but the rabbi noticed that the barrels were not as full this time. He began pouring everyone half a glass instead of a full glass, and by the time it got to his own glass, there was no wine left. "That's all right," thought the rabbi. "I will gladden my heart tonight with dancing rather than wine." The community left the wedding celebration feeling joyful, not only from the wine and dancing, but also from knowing that they had helped another orphan to have a beautiful wedding. Another few years went by, and now Ruthie, the youngest orphan sister, was ready to marry. A match was found, a date was set, and the rabbi gave similar sermons about the importance of weddings and of taking care of orphans. But this time, the community seemed even less enthusiastic to help. It had been a rough couple of years for everyone, and the rabbi knew it. There had been a typhus outbreak, and the marketplace was no longer bustling. Crops weren't doing so well, and people did not have as much wine to spare. So, as the rabbi set out the 2 barrels in front of the synagogue, he said, "I know the last couple of years have been difficult for our community, but if everyone can spare even a thimble full of wine, together we can at least provide enough wine for the bride and groom to enjoy the customary glass at their wedding." Everyone in the shtetl concurred that it had been an especially hard year, but they all agreed to contribute something to the communal wine barrel. Without discussing the matter with anyone else, multiple families in the shtetl somehow came up with the same brilliant idea. What if, instead of giving just a thimble full of wine, they added a full jug of water to the barrel? It would mix in with the wine that others brought, and no one would know the difference. When it came time for the wedding feast, the rabbi lifted up the first wine barrel. "Wow, this is heavier than I expected it to be," said the rabbi. Everyone smiled in anticipation of enjoying their glass of wine from the very full barrel. But when the rabbi turned the spigot, the only thing that came out was a clear liquid. "Is that vodka?" asked the groom. The rabbi smelled the first glass and knew right away that it was water, not vodka. But he didn't want to disappoint the wedding couple. "I must have opened the wrong barrel," said the rabbi. "This may have been donations for our mikveh," he said, referring to the ritual bathhouse. "Let me try the other barrel," said the rabbi. The townspeople started to shift nervously in their seats. How could the first barrel have nothing but water in it? Sure, they had put water in it, but only because they knew others would contribute the required wine. As the rabbi opened the second barrel, clear water flowed once again from the spigot. The orphan bride burst into tears. Ruthie felt humiliated at her own wedding. How could this have happened? Did no one in the community care anymore? She ran out of the wedding hall sobbing loudly. The groom chased after Ruthie and tried to reassure her that there must have been some sort of misunderstanding. But when they returned to the wedding hall, the rabbi and all of the wedding guests were also in tears. When the bride and groom were outside, the rabbi addressed the community. "I know this has been a hard year for all of us," he said. "That's why I asked for just a thimble of wine rather than a full bottle or even half a glass from each family. I know we have studied the holy text about the importance of weddings and of caring for orphans when they have no parents to see to their needs a number of times. But it seems we have forgotten this important piece of Torah. I cannot believe that our shtetl would treat an orphan this way. My heart is broken tonight when it should have been overflowing with joy." "He is right," said one of the wedding guests. Another guest stood up and replied, "We are sorry for losing sight of our most cherished values. You know the stress we have been under for so long, but that does not excuse what happened tonight." "What should we do now?" asked a third guest. "I think you know the answer," said the rabbi. The community members nodded. 2 men walked over to the wine barrels and poured out all of the water. Then someone from each family walked back to their homes and came back with a bottle of wine. Together they filled the barrels with wine once again. Then a friend of the groom went to find the wedding couple and summoned them back to the banquet hall. As they sat down, the rabbi said, "Let's try this again," and turned the spigot on the wine barrel. He filled 2 tall glasses for the wedding couple, then more glasses for all of the wedding guests. A toast to the bride and groom, they lifted up their glasses, uttered the blessing for wine, and then took their first sips together. By the end of the night, the community felt much closer than ever before. There was hope again in their hearts, even after so much suffering and disappointment. They now knew from experience that their values and community could help them get through the toughest of times. While this story happened long ago, something similar has been happening over the past year. Like this 19th century shtetl community, we too have had a rough couple of years. Now, almost 3 years after the start of the pandemic, our energy levels are not what they used to be. Some of the commitments and efforts that we used to make have been slipping away at home, at work, at synagogue. Where we once felt ready and willing to serve or to lend a helping hand, these efforts have dwindled due to a pervasive feeling of burnout. Many of us have felt exhausted and overwhelmed and look to cut back wherever possible. This is a completely understandable response to the stress we have been facing. However, we may have been accidentally compounding our stress rather than reducing it by cutting out the wrong things from our lives. I spoke last night about someone who focused on work to the detriment of joy. Rather than making her more productive, cutting out joy made her more resentful and less efficient. She got to a point where she could barely get through her work each day because there was no balance in her life. Some people who have been focusing on work to the detriment of meaning have also been feeling increasingly burnt out. Burnout happens when we do too much of one thing, especially if that one thing is constantly stressful and does not offer rewards equal to the effort that we put in. Studies have shown that people in demanding jobs are especially prone to burnout. This is true for people working paid positions like ER doctors or teachers, as well as for people doing unpaid work like caring for young children or aging parents. If all we do is the same few stressful tasks day in and day out with no break or change in pace, it is only a matter of time before we experience burnout and possibly even deeper levels of depression. Human beings were not designed to do the same thing all day, every day. Our brains and bodies require variety. We cannot just sit at a desk all day doing the same mentally demanding tasks for 16 hours straight. We need to get up and walk around. We need to interact with other people. We need stimulation and variety to help us thrive. That is why it is so important for us to build variety into our schedules. We need to devote time to joy and meaning beyond what our careers may offer us. So while we may have the urge to cut out anything that feels unnecessary, we are actually better equipped to avoid burnout if we add the right things into our lives. Again, as I mentioned last night, one of the things we must add is time for joy on a regular basis. But the other thing we must add to our lives in order to thrive is meaning. An easy way to add meaning into our lives is to volunteer. If you think you might want to add more meaning into your life, we have many different volunteer opportunities at Orme, as our president mentioned earlier. And we should have talked more about this because there'll be a little overlap. We are always looking for folks to write a card, make a phone call, or deliver food to someone recovering from surgery. This can be done a couple times a year or more frequently, depending on your schedule. For those who want to help get meals to people, but like me, aren't that confident in your cooking skills, you can also donate to cover a DoorDash delivery, which is sure to make someone feel supported or cared for during a challenging time. We also have a wonderful social action committee with a group specifically focusing on helping refugees from Afghanistan acclimate to life in Richmond. If you have a couple of hours that you could devote to helping someone practice their English, that's a great way to add meaning and positive social interactions into your life. If you prefer more task-oriented ways of contributing, you could get involved with our facilities committee and help to keep our synagogue building in good shape while potentially learning new and valuable skills. Or, if you like interacting with children, you could volunteer to help with a special event at our religious school. I know this sermon is getting long, so I'm not going to tell you about every single committee and project we have going on, but I will encourage you to find some way to contribute meaningfully to the community in the new year. The pandemic caused a lot of us to lose sight of the things that once kept us grounded, and to question sometimes what our contributions even matter to the world. But if we volunteer now, we can repair these ruptures and reconnect with the things that matter most. Knowing that we've been helpful, that we're capable, that we have played a meaningful part in improving our community can enhance our whole outlook on life. Volunteering can remind us that our contributions matter, that we matter, and that we are ultimately the ones who determine whether we drink plain water or magnificent wine as a community. May we be reminded of these truths as we work to improve ourselves and our world in the new year. Shana Tovah.
יראו ולא ישחיתו בכל הר קודשי, כי מלאה הארץ דעה את אדוני, כמים לים מכסים, כמים לים מכסים, וישבו איש תחת גפנו ותחת עינתו, וישבו איש תחת גפנו ותחת עינתו,
We continue on page 39 with Aleinu. Please rise for the Aleinu prayer.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, מגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד.
At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight we remember with love Robert Fierstein, cousin of Renee Gould, Marlene Kane, mother of David Kane, and the yard sites of Naomi Paul, mother of Isabel Paul, Esther Grainer, mother of Suzanne Horton, Susan Hurt, longtime member of Orme, Shirley Lazink, sister of Alan Arkava, David Leibovic, brother of Steve Leibovic, Andrew Lividas, father of Linda Sherm, Roberta Lutz, sister of Beth Levine, Eleanor Miller, mother of Martin Miller, Lionel Paradise, grandfather of Nicole Rossi, Helen Wires, mother of Jeannie Engler. Are there other loved ones we wish to remember this morning? Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We remain standing as a community of support for the Mourners Kaddish on page 41. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach yute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved. And let us say, amen. Please be seated.
Shana tovah tikatevu, Shana tovah tikatevu, tikatevu, metichatemu, Shana tovah tikatevu, Shana tovah tikatevu.
Thank you again to everyone who had an honor in our service today. We're going to conclude with our closing blessing and then more blessings after our closing blessing for food so that we can eat together. Okay. Please rise for the closing benediction. And now, on the first morning of the new year, we pray for blessing, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of insight and courage, the spirit of wonder and awe, the spirit of justice and peace. May we overcome trouble, pain, and sorrow. May our days and years increase. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetechadesh alenu Shanah tovah u'mituka. Adonai, our God and God of our people, renew us for a good year. Amen. Amen.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. B'teavon, bon appetit. Enjoy your apples and honey cake, and grab some in the hallway and bring it out to the tent. We'll hang out.